Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Beneath the surface of our familiar Earth lies a silence far older than memory. Each layer of soil holds a breath of the past, compacted and still, like pages in a book we can no longer read. The roots of trees wander through this buried library, brushing against fragments of forgotten stories, pieces of pottery, tools shaped by unknown hands, carvings softened by time. We often speak of ancient civilizations as if we know their edges: Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Maya. But what if there were others lost beyond recall? What if we are not the first to rise, not the first to build, not the first to wonder? The crust of the earth is restless, always shifting. Mountains rise and crumble, seas swallow coasts, forests turn to deserts. In this constant motion, entire histories could vanish, consumed by lava, drowned by ocean, erased by ice. A city, a culture, a language might crumble so completely that not even myth remains. And still, the soil remembers. Scientists studying ancient sediments have uncovered traces of sudden carbon shifts, unexplained anomalies in isotope patterns, and minerals forged in ways nature cannot explain. Some wonder, were these the fingerprints of a civilization that bloomed then burned, long before the first pyramid? Time stretches unimaginably deep. Earth is over 4.5 billion years old, yet humans have only walked it for a blink. Our recorded history spans mere thousands of years, a fragile sliver in the grand sweep of geology. Between the rise of our species and the time of the dinosaurs lies a vast quiet. Millions of years in which the Earth turned, seasons passed and life evolved. What happened in those lost ages? Could sentient life have come and gone long before we ever took breath? Not mythical monsters or alien fantasies, but beings of clay and thought, who built, dreamed and perished, leaving no trace but a curious whisper in the rocks. Consider the phenomenon of technofossils, unnatural remnants embedded in stone. Bits of synthetic polymers, refined metals and radiation markers can outlast bones and bricks. Some scientists suggest that if we vanish today, future geologists might recognize our era not by skyscrapers, but by the plastic veins running through ancient strata. Could we then be mistaking geological oddities for natural quirks, when they are in fact the distant echoes of civilizations we never knew existed? Perhaps a faint layer of ash in the Arctic ice, or a curious anomaly in oceanic sediment, is the last breath of a people long gone. In the 1960s, geologists found spherical metallic objects embedded in billion-year-old rock in South Africa, perfectly round, grooved as if machined, yet encased in material too ancient to reconcile with our understanding of human history. Most dismissed them as natural formations, geological curiosities without meaning. But others asked a quieter question. What if meaning is hidden because we don't yet know how to look? Just as a child might see a book and not know it holds stories, we may be walking across fossils not of life, but of thought, fossils of culture, invention, intelligence. The Earth renews itself constantly. Volcanoes remake the land, tectonic plates swallow continents, wind and rain wear down every trace. Even our greatest monuments, left unattended, would vanish within tens of thousands of years. Concrete would crack, steel would rust, glass would melt back into sand. 1,000,000 years from now, what would remain of us? A handful of artifacts? A curious pattern in radiation levels? The same could have happened before, perhaps many times. Civilizations that grew in warmth and fell in fire, each one erased by time, each one becoming the silence beneath our feet. Now imagine standing in a forest, sunlight filtering through the leaves, birds calling from unseen branches. Beneath your feet, just meters down, could be the bones of a city, not the ruins of a known people, but something far older, its language unreadable, its tools unfamiliar, its dreams unknowable. The forest does not care. The roots push through whatever lies below. Time continues and we walk above it all, unaware of the forgotten brilliance buried in the earth's slow breath. The question lingers not in proof but in wonder. If others came before us, would we even know? Let's drift deeper, beyond what we see, into the soft corridors of Earth's memory. Beneath every mountain and field lies a pulse, slow and ancient, beating in geological time. The rocks are not still. They hold stories layered and compressed like breath held too long. In these layers, we find more than minerals or fossils. We find moments, faint and fleeting, where something once happened that we no longer understand, a dark band of carbon, a sudden spike in temperature locked in ancient ice, a buried structure where none should be. They whisper to us, these fragments, asking us to look again. The idea that we may not be the first to rise is not new. Philosophers, mystics, and even scientists have long entertained the possibility that the Earth has been home to intelligence more than once. In Hindu cosmology, time moves in vast cycles, yugas, each containing births, destructions, and rebirths of worlds. The Greeks told of lost cities swallowed by sea. The Dogon of Mali spoke of knowledge from a time before. And while myth is not science, myth often remembers what logic forgets. Could these tales be broken memories, warped by time of something real and buried? The deeper we look, the more we see that civilization leaves behind not monuments but byproducts, waste, materials, heat. A truly advanced culture may have changed the atmosphere in ways we haven't yet recognized. It might have reshaped the landscape so subtly that it appears natural. Scientists now use a concept called the Silurian hypothesis, which asks, if an industrial civilization had existed on Earth millions of years ago, how would we know? The question isn't asked with certainty, but with humility. Our own imprint on Earth, after 1 million years, might look like a natural event, an extinction, a warming period, a spike in metals. There are odd clues. In Antarctica's ice cores, there are tiny traces of soot and mercury, dated to periods long before humans began industry. In the Amazon rainforest, ancient geometric earthworks stretch for miles beneath the jungle canopy, their builders unknown. In the deserts of Turkey and Iraq, stone circles and megaliths predate known agriculture. Are these the echoes of early human genius? Perhaps. Or could they be the scattered footprints of another intelligence, one that passed before us, erased by time and absorbed by the Earth's patient churn? Think of the Mariana Trench, the ocean's deepest place, a silence so vast that even sunlight cannot touch it. There, in the crushing dark, lie sediment layers undisturbed for millions of years. If a civilization had once thrived, their refuse might have drifted down here. Not cities or ships, but microscopic artifacts, fragments of polymers, isotopes, shapes that do not occur in nature. These are not things easily found. They do not shine under the sun. They wait in the cold, hidden under kilometers of pressure, like memories the planet has chosen to forget. Even on land, deep drilling projects have uncovered anomalies. In Russia's Kola superdeep borehole, scientists encountered layers they could not explain, fossils where none should exist, shifts in rock that defied the timeline. Some findings were dismissed, others forgotten. But every so often, new data emerges, a deposit of metallic spheres, a pattern in ancient stone, a structure aligned to a star that no longer shines. None of these alone proves the past, but together they form a hum, like a forgotten tune, half remembered in sleep. Life has risen many times on this planet. The Cambrian explosion brought forth creatures with eyes and armour. The Permian extinction wiped out most life, only for it to begin again. Dinosaurs ruled for millions of years before vanishing, giving way to mammals and eventually to us. If life could evolve intelligence once, why not twice? Or thrice? Perhaps not as we know it. perhaps not with silicon or steam, but with tools of bone or light, cities made of living trees, knowledge stored in songs or scent. The forms may be gone, but their rhythms may still echo. And what of memory? Not in fossils or stone, but in DNA. Some researchers suggest that non-human primates show signs of ancient trauma, inherited through genes. Could memory, deep cellular memory, be a clue? Could our dreams of great floods, of golden ages, of cataclysm and fire, be echoes not from our own past, but from a time before us? Stories told not by us, but through us? The earth may not speak in words, but it remembers in tides, in rings of trees, in crystals that grow layer by layer, season after season, age after age. You can almost feel it, the possibility that beneath our every step lies not just rock, but residue. Residue of lives lived, thoughts thought, eyes that once looked at the stars and wondered, just as we do. They may have called their world by another name, their sun may have seemed eternal, their time secure, but like all things they faded, their traces scattered, their songs stilled, and now we rise thinking ourselves first, thinking ourselves alone. But the earth knows better. It has held many stories and may yet hold many more. Let it all settle now, the wonder, the speculation, the deep time drift of thought. Let's linger a little longer in this quiet space where Earth holds her secrets in the slow turning of a stone. If there were others before us, they are now part of the soil, the silt, the air. Perhaps their minds once shimmered with curiosity, just as ours do now. Perhaps they too reached toward the stars, built homes beside rivers, left traces in language or sound or tool. But time is not gentle. It smooths the edges, swallows the grand, and folds everything into silence. What once was bright becomes shadowed. What once echoed becomes still. Yet the absence is not empty. The earth is full of things we do not yet understand. Structures whose purpose we can't explain. Formations that do not fit our models. Materials whose presence challenges the timeline we trust. We test them, measure them, catalogue them. But deep inside, we also feel something else. A murmur, a pull, a question that cannot be shaken. Are we walking among the ruins of someone else's dawn? Consider again the quiet forests, the deserts, the ocean floor. In these places untouched by cities, time moves differently. Layers build upon layers. Roots grow around stone and bone. The sea erodes cliffs and buries secrets beneath soft sediment. Civilization, no matter how mighty, cannot stand against the long patience of geology. 1,000 years is a blink, 1,000,000 is a breath, and in that breath, a people, a culture, an age could rise and vanish without a trace, except, perhaps, a shard, a line in the earth, a whisper in the rocks. If someone had lived before us, with minds keen and hands skilled, how would we know? Their cities might have been made of materials that no longer remain. Their records might have been songs or scents or patterns in leaves, not stone tablets or silicon chips. We assume that progress must follow our path, that intelligence must look like us. But the earth is older than our imagination. It has birthed creatures of fire and ice, of air and slime, of bone and brilliance. Why not a mind before ours? Why not thought, purpose, memory, now dissolved into the very dust we breathe? Even now, scientists study isotopic ratios in ancient minerals, searching for anomalies. They listen to the Earth's hums and tremors, mapping patterns too consistent to be random. They test cave walls for pigments, analyze ancient lakes for chemical spikes, study fossil layers for unexplained disruptions. Each time a strange result emerges, they ask, is this nature, or is it a story we have not yet learned to hear? Maybe the question is not whether others came before us. Maybe the question is, will we recognize them when we find them? Will we understand the shape of their thinking, the traces of their tools, the weight of their silence? Or will we, in our own hubris, erase them once more, classifying their remnants as quirks, anomalies, geological coincidence? For it is easier to believe we are the first, the highest, the only ones who ever dreamed. Still, some keep searching, in caves beneath the sea, deep in the Arctic ice, in ancient deserts. They search not for proof to confirm a theory, but for the deeper human need to know who else has walked this path, to know that we are part of something larger, older, more mysterious, that long before we lit our first fire, long before we built our first city, someone else looked up at the stars and wondered, just as we do. There is a quiet beauty in not knowing, a kind of humility. We are, after all, just visitors on this earth, borrowing time, leaving traces. If we vanish tomorrow, what will remain of us in 10,000 years? A broken satellite? A ring of ash? A glassy layer in the soil? Perhaps one day something new will rise, a creature with eyes and wonder, who will dig into the past and ask, were we the first? Were we alone? And perhaps they will find us. Perhaps they will not. Perhaps the cycle will turn again. Thought, rise, silence, civilization, collapse, forgetting. The earth has seen it all. We are just another flicker in her deep and endless night. So let us walk gently, let us wonder deeply. Let us not assume that we are the beginning. For the shadows beneath the soil may yet hold the dreams of those who came before, dreams not so different from our own. Stone is slow to speak, but it remembers everything. While trees grow and fall, rivers flow and shift, and cities rise and crumble, stone watches. It watches with a stillness so complete that we forget it is there. But in its silence, it holds the long memory of earth, of fire, of pressure, of weight, of touch. Every cliff, every pebble, every mountain has been shaped not just by nature, but by time itself. And time leaves stories behind. If only we learn to read the layers. Walk through a canyon where the walls shine with bands of red and gold. Those colours are not just decoration, they are chapters. They mark ancient seas that once swayed here, volcanic ash from a world now gone. The slow drift of continents reshaping the face of the earth, each layer formed over thousands, even probably millions of years. And in between, in the quiet gaps between stones, lie the pauses, times when nothing moved, when earth rested, and only the wind whispered across its surface. Some of the oldest stones we know, zircons, are over 4 billion years old. They formed when Earth was still a fiery ocean of rock long before life began. And yet, within these crystals, scientists have found traces of water. Not recent water, not even ancient water, but water that touched Earth before the moon was fully formed. The stone remembered. It held that whisper of coolness, that delicate signature of life's earliest possibility for billions of years. Stone holds more than water. It holds footprints, fossilized steps of creatures who once walked soft earth, now arden to eternity. We have found the tracks of insects, reptiles, and even early humans, preserved in ancient mud turned to stone. In those steps we see moments, one foot in front of the other, a stumble, a pause, a dance. The rock does not forget. It holds that single breath in time long after breath itself has vanished. But sometimes stone holds stranger memories, ones we do not yet understand. Carvings buried under jungles, geometric shapes etched into cliffs, massive stones stacked with impossible precision. From Göbekli Tepe to the Moai of Easter Island, from the deep-cut canals in Peru to the stone spheres of Costa Rica, these monuments seem to come from minds that saw the world in a way we no longer do. Were these marks of early humans experimenting with art and alignment? Or could they be echoes from before, impressions left by a culture we have not yet recognized? Geologists have found stones shaped like tools embedded in layers far older than the earliest accepted human ancestors. Smooth spheres with grooves, perfectly round and balanced, sometimes encased in rock 2 billion years old. The official explanation is often simple, natural processes, but part of the scientific spirit is to wonder, to ask whether everything we classify as natural truly is. Could some patterns be so old their makers are lost not just in history, but in prehistory? Stones do not lie, but they also do not explain. They are content to wait To hold their truth in silence, we must bring the questions, and we must ask them slowly. Imagine a beach where the rocks are worn smooth, rounded by waves that have come and gone for centuries. What stories are hidden within each stone? Not just the tides that tumbled it, but perhaps the hands that once held it, the eyes that once studied it, the minds that saw its shape and gave it meaning. There is a practice among some ancient cultures of listening to stones, not as myth, but as reverence. In Japan, in parts of the Andes, among the Australian Aboriginals, stones are seen not only as objects but as relatives, holders of memory, of presence. When they speak, it is through feeling, through placement, through the long echo of time. And perhaps that is why some structures were built not of wood or clay, but of stone. Because stone remains. Imagine now a world long before ours, not primitive but different. A civilization that shaped its cities from the cliffs, that spoke through sculpture, that left its knowledge not in books but in formations aligned with the stars. Maybe their memory is not lost, it's just unread. Maybe we walk by their libraries every day, mistaking them for mountains, calling their records erosion, naming their monuments as accidents of nature. Stone is not in a hurry, it can wait forever. And if we learn to slow down, to see with more than just our eyes, we might begin to hear the whispers from before time. Whispers held in granite and quartz, in basalt and shale. Whispers that remind us that the past is not gone, it is simply sleeping in the memory of stone. Let's drift deeper into the stone's still memory, where time doesn't move in seconds but in shifts of pressure, in waves of heat, in the slow burial of secrets. The Earth's crust, though solid to us, flows over long spans like cold honey, folding entire landscapes into itself. As it does, the memories of the world, those once exposed to air and light, are pressed downward, layer upon layer, until they become part of something else, a silent, enduring archive. Every grain of sand, every crystal of quartz is part of this great book of Earth, written without ink, preserved without language, yet speaking to those who learn how to listen. Scientists who study these layers, stratigraphers and geologists, describe them like pages, with each band a story of climate, catastrophe, rebirth. In the chalk cliffs of England, they find the skeletons of countless microscopic creatures, their shells forming entire hillsides over eons. In the deep sediment of lakes, they find pollen from plants long extinct, each grain a clue to a forest no longer standing. And within the cracks of canyons and the folds of mountains, sometimes they find things that don't quite fit, cuts too straight, holes too round, alignments too perfect to be accidents. The memory of stone is not always clear, but it is consistent. When something doesn't belong, the stone remembers. One such memory lies in the bedrock of India, in a site called Lonar, a perfectly round crater formed not by volcano but by something that struck with immense force. Around it, magnetic anomalies and shocked quartz suggest impact, violent and sudden. Scientists have dated the event to thousands of years ago, but questions linger. Were humans there to see it? Did they interpret it as divine? Or were there other eyes, other minds, watching from stone towers now erased? Not all answers lie in fossils. Some may rest in the geometry of scars left behind. The lines and angles in ancient stone structures continue to fascinate. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid's precision is staggering, its alignment with true north, its proportions echoing mathematical constants. In Peru, the walls of Sacsayhuaman fit stone so tightly together that not even a blade can pass between them, and no mortar is used. These are not isolated marvels. All over the globe, Turkey, Lebanon, Cambodia, Japan, we find stonework that defies erosion, that has resisted earthquakes and storms, standing firm when more recent structures crumble. What knowledge guided these hands? Was it intuition honed by time, or was it inherited from a source long since forgotten? Then there are the stone anomalies that offer no clear purpose. Massive spheres in Costa Rica, many weighing several tons, carved to near-perfect roundness. No written records explain them, and their arrangement suggests intention. Some were found in patterns, others in isolation. The stone itself is hard and difficult to shape, yet these spheres remain, resisting explanation. Are they art? Are they markers? Or are they the echoes of minds that spoke through form instead of word? There is also the memory of movement. Across the African continent, the stones of ancient roads stretch between cities long buried. In the Middle East, lines etched in the desert can only be seen from the sky, forming shapes of birds, wheels, and keys. In South America, the Nazca lines stretch across a dry plateau, geoglyphs of unknown age and meaning. What kind of civilization needed to draw pictures so large that only the heavens could view them? And did they believe, perhaps, that someone above was always watching? Beneath the oceans, stones tell stories more difficult to reach. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, lies a submerged formation with straight edges, stair-like terraces, and flat platforms that suggest intelligent design. Some believe it to be a natural formation, others believe it to be a sunken city drowned during a shift in sea levels thousands of years ago. If true, it could represent a memory far older than any written word, a remnant from a time when human or perhaps pre-human intelligence flourished near the sea, then was lost beneath it. Memory in stone is often triggered by fire. When ancient pottery is unearthed, its clay still holds the heat signatures of the kilns that baked it. From these, scientists learn about ancient temperatures, cooking practices, even the foods consumed. But what if there are older fires? Fires so ancient their heat fused stone into glass, or left radiation marks where none should be. In some deserts, fused glass fields have been found, green-black sheets of melted sand, with no nearby volcano or lightning strike to explain them. Their formation, some suggest, resembles the kind of heat burst left by high-energy explosions. Natural or not, the memory is there, etched into stone's slow breath. And then there is silence, the places where stone remembers not with shape or heat, but with absence. Regions where something once stood, but left no trace, gaps in the fossil record, strata that suggest activity, but offer no remains. These are the hardest memories to read, like trying to understand a book by the indentation on the page below. But even absence speaks, a sudden change in mineral composition, a layer with rare metals not usually found in nature. These may be the footprints of a forgotten intelligence, one that shaped the earth not with buildings, but with chemistry, with light, with ideas we have not yet reimagined. We walk among these stones every day. We build our homes on them, carve our statues from them, toss them into gardens or rivers without a second thought. But they remember. They were here long before us, and they will remain long after. They do not speak in words, but in layers, in cracks, in the quiet weight of presence. They are patient, waiting for us to ask the right questions, to recognize that time is not a straight line, and that we may not be the first to ask, who came before? Now, let us slow our thoughts and listen, not with ears, but with the softness of our wandering minds. The memory of stone does not scream, it does not declare. It lingers quietly beneath our feet, behind the walls of canyons, beneath the ocean, in the still silence of forgotten caves. It is a memory that waits patiently, like an old tree holding stories in its rings, never needing to be understood to feel complete. But still, we ask. Still we wonder if those memories hold truths about ourselves, truths from before our histories began. Imagine this: we are not the first to read the stars, not the first to shape stone into meaning, not the first to look at time as a question rather than an answer. Perhaps there were minds before us, different, unknown, who laid their thoughts into the earth not as noise but as alignment, stones placed with intention, monoliths arranged to catch light only once each year, caverns carved to echo sound in ways that stir the spine. If such intelligence existed, it may have spoken not with words but with resonance, with pattern, with presence. And its voice may still be here, humming faintly beneath the dust. Stone does not age the way we do, it doesn't forget, but its language is unfamiliar. Our science reads its weight, its texture, its shape. Our emotions sense its gravity, its stillness, its pull. When we enter places like Petra, Machu Picchu, or the Hypogeum of Halsaflieni, we feel something even if we cannot name it. These places were not just built, they were chosen. Their stones were not random, they were part of a message, a map, a music. If we cannot yet read it, perhaps it's because we are too loud, too quick, too certain that what we know is all there is to know. In the deepest parts of the earth, diamond is formed. Not by choice, not by miracle, but by time and pressure. This tells us something profound. Beauty and clarity do not appear easily. They emerge when the world squeezes silence into shape. Perhaps the memories held in stone are like diamonds, small hard truths created by eons of wait and waiting. And perhaps we have been walking past these truths, mistaking them for mere rock. Think of the stones at the base of ancient walls, those too large to move with the tools we know existed at the time. Why are they so heavy? Why are they there at all? Maybe they were not meant to be moved again. Maybe they were placed as a final act, a period at the end of a sentence written long before we arrived. Or maybe those who placed them had a knowledge we no longer possess, techniques, energies, wisdoms lost in the drift between ages, and the stones, resting where they were left, are the only ones who still remember. What remains after a civilization fades? Not its laws, not its songs, even its language becomes dust. What lingers is stone, always stone, the foundations, the monuments, the quarries that fed its hunger, and sometimes the scars where those stones were removed. If a people wanted to last forever, they would not write their names. They would shape the mountains. They would align the rocks with the stars. They would embed themselves in the land so deeply that even forgetting could not erase them entirely. And so we come to the quietest question. If someone or something came before us, how would we honour them? Would we label their echoes as myth, as coincidence, as error? Or would we pause, humble ourselves, and admit that we do not yet understand, that science is a growing light, not a complete one, that perhaps in the memory of stone there is more than geology. There is the spirit of time, the echo of thought, the fingerprints of hands long turned to dust. As we gaze toward the stars, building telescopes to look farther than ever before, maybe we should also be looking down, into the earth, into the rocks, into the things that have watched us come and go. For stone was here before language, before history, before us. It has seen continents drift, mountains rise, oceans dry and return. It has held the heat of fire, the cold of glaciers, and the quiet of ages that passed without witness. If anyone else was here, before us, beside us, beneath us, the stone will know. And if we are to vanish someday, swallowed by time, as all things are, it will be stone that holds our final story. It will not speak it loudly. It will not protect it forever, but for a while, for a long while, it will keep our memory, just as it has kept so many others, quiet, still, enduring, and waiting, always waiting to be seen. Beneath the endless sway of the sea, where the sunlight fades and silence deepens, lies a world mostly forgotten. The ocean does not just swallow, she remembers. Every grain of sand on the ocean floor once belonged to a mountain or a cliff or a statue. Every current touches something ancient. When waves crash against the shore, they are not just water. They are time in motion, brushing against the present with stories from the past. And below, far below, lie shapes we are only beginning to notice. Not reefs, not rocks, but something shaped, something lost. The ocean has risen and fallen countless times. It has drowned valleys, carved out coasts, erased entire islands. What now sleeps beneath its waves may once have thrived in sunlight among birds and trees and voices. In India's Gulf of Kambat, sonar scans revealed symmetrical patterns on the seabed, rectangular blocks, straight lines, arranged as if by design. Archaeologists sent divers, Among the murky currents they found pottery shards, tools and human remains. Carbon dating pushed the age of the site back nearly 9,000 years, older than the pyramids, older than most of recorded civilization. If true, it suggests a city once stood there, now forgotten by all but the sea. The same whispers come from Japan's coast, where divers stumbled upon the Yonaguni monument. Massive steps, sharp angles, stone pillars and terraces buried beneath the water. Some believe it is natural, the result of tectonic activity. Others see deliberate architecture, stairways, roads, mountain altars, carved into stone long before the island sank. If it was a city, who lived there? What gods did they name? What dreams did they bury as the waves rose? And they do rise. Sea levels have not always been where they are now. During the last ice age, the oceans were lower by over 100 metres. What is now seabed was once dry land, fertile, forested, home to rivers, lakes, and likely people. The ancient maps of explorers like Piri Reis show coastlines now underwater. Myths from around the world speak of floods, of cities lost beneath waves, of knowledge drowned but not destroyed. Atlantis, Kumari Kandam, Lemuria. These names may not point to places we can find, but they echo something deeper, a shared memory across cultures of a world that was swallowed. In the Caribbean, near Cuba's western tip, researchers using sonar detected a series of underwater structures, shapes too symmetrical to dismiss. Some are massive, others aligned like roads or walls. Local legends tell of cities beneath the sea. Explorers have tried to investigate, but the depths are vast and the current strong. The ocean guards her secrets well, but the question persists. If these shapes are not natural, then who built them and when? Science often moves slowly, cautiously as it must. Claims of underwater civilizations are met with skepticism, and rightly so. But when the same story is told across continents, of lands lost, of floods that erase memory, perhaps it is not fantasy. Perhaps it is fossilized truth softened by time. We are told that civilization began around 5,000 years ago, with the rise of writing and cities. But what if that was simply the latest beginning? What if there were others? Eras that rose quietly and fell completely, leaving behind only ruins now caressed by coral. The ocean floor holds more than just potential cities. It cradles shipwrecks that once carried treasures, bones, and knowledge. Some wrecks are recent, others ancient beyond belief. In the Black Sea, deep diving expeditions uncovered ships so well preserved that their ropes still held fast, their wood untouched by decay. Cold, oxygenless waters keep secrets well. What else lies in those black depths, waiting for a hand, a light, a question? There are sonar maps of the ocean floor that hint at unnatural shapes, grids where none should be, patterns that defy geology. Not all are confirmed, some are glitches, illusions, but some are not. Some are too precise, and they lie far from where modern humans have built. Places once dry, now submerged. Places that would have been prime for settlement if the waters had not come. And always the same feeling, a breath held too long, a story too old to tell. Imagine now a city by the sea, alive with colour and sound, its people trading, building, singing, beneath a sky we no longer remember. Then the waters come, not all at once, but year by year, wave by wave. Fields vanish, homes fall, roads disappear. The people leave, or stay, and vanish. And the sea covers it all with a quiet permanence. No smoke, no fire, just tide, and in time the memory slips from stories into myths, from myths into silence. But the ocean does not forget. Her floor is carved with memory. Her currents pass over it again and again, as if caressing a photo lost in a drawer. We dive in with machines, with lights, with eager hands, but she gives nothing easily, and perhaps that's the gift. Perhaps we are not meant to find everything too quickly. Perhaps memory to be respected must be earned, uncovered not in haste, but in reverence. The cities beneath the waves may not be dreams, they may be the first drafts of history, ones that were erased by nature and are now being rewritten by the brave, the curious, the patient. And in their rediscovery, we do not just find the past, we find ourselves. We find the truth that nothing is ever truly lost, only waiting beneath the surface for us to remember. Let's drift further now, beyond the coastal shallows and into the deepening blue, where light fades into mystery and time lies heavy upon the seafloor. Here, the ocean becomes not just a body of water, but a realm of forgotten places. The deeper we go, the further we leave behind the certainty of maps and measurements, and the closer we come to listening, not just to what is, but to what may have been. For the ocean's memory is not stored in books or scrolls, but in silt and stone, in formations that defy the tide, in silence that hums with possibility. Some places speak louder than others. Off the coast of India, divers explore the ancient ruins of Dwarka, a city spoken of in Hindu texts, said to have sunk beneath the sea after its king departed the world. For years, the story was called a myth, but now stone walls, steps and roads have been found beneath the waves, confirming that something once stood there. Columns still stand, encrusted with coral, while chiselled blocks lie like bones across the seabed. Archaeologists tread carefully, unsure whether they are excavating legend or rewriting history. And the sea, always watching, offers no answers, only more layers. In the Mediterranean, near the island of Malta, the megalithic temples that rise above the sea are among the oldest known freestanding structures on Earth. But what lies beneath the waves may be even older. Divers have found stone alignments offshore, lines and chambers, some partially buried, others exposed like ribs of some forgotten beast. Were these harbours, altars, cities that predate the temples above? No one knows, but the precision of their placement, the intention in their shape speaks of purpose, and purpose is never natural, it is the fingerprint of thought. And in the Bahamas, the Bimini Road stretches beneath the shallow water like a path that once led to something more. Large flat stones, rectangular, aligned, placed with care, form a route beneath the waves that some claim is natural, and others insist was once walked by feet. The road's angles, its joins, its symmetry, it's too much like something built to ignore. If it was once a road, then where did it go? And who walked it? These are questions the ocean will not answer directly, but still, we ask. All across the world, ancient stories tell of floods. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh recounts a deluge that ended an age. The Bible speaks of Noah. The Aztecs remembered the world being destroyed by water. The Aboriginal people of Australia have songs that map coastal regions now submerged, sung by ancestors who walk those very lands. Scientists have confirmed that sea levels did rise dramatically at the end of the last ice age, swallowing coastlines and altering continents. It is no stretch to imagine that people lived there. And if they lived there, they built. And if they built, perhaps those cities now sleep beneath the sea. The ruins beneath Lake Titicaca, stone terraces, roads, and submerged temples, were discovered only after the lake level dropped. Local legends always told of cities beneath the water, cities built by gods and lost to their anger. Divers found the remains of structures, stairways leading into darkness, and offerings left to deities beneath what was once sky. The timelines remain unclear, but one truth stands. Where we once saw myth, we now find memory, and the sea, though it may cover, does not erase. In Southeast Asia, the Sunderland Shelf, now covered by sea, was once a vast landmass where rivers met, forests flourished, and perhaps great cities rose. During the Ice Age it was dry, now it lies hidden. Satellite imaging reveals patterns on the seafloor, channels, shapes, ridges too regular to ignore. Was this a cradle of early civilization? A place of culture and craft lost to time and tide? There is no definitive proof, not yet, but the clues gather like sand building slowly into land. The challenge in uncovering these lost places is not only the depth or darkness, it is also the scepticism of modern thought. Science demands evidence, and rightly so, but sometimes the evidence lies just beyond our current tools. A sunken city may lie beneath layers of sediment too thick to penetrate. A structure may appear natural until its edges are traced by a human eye brave enough for Earth to see design. And so progress comes slowly, not with bold discovery, but with quiet persistence. A dive here, a sonar reading there, a fragment, a pattern, a rethinking of what we thought we knew. The ocean floor is still mostly unmapped, a wilderness more alien than the surface of Mars. In its hidden canyons and plateaus, anything could wait. Libraries of stone, the outlines of roads, statues toppled by current, carvings blurred by coral. We have only touched the edges, and in those edges, already, the ocean has begun to whisper. What if our history is not a straight path, but a cycle? What if civilization rises, flourishes, falls, and is then swept clean by the sea, the earth, the sky? What if the flood myths are not fiction, but memory? Distorted, yes, but real. Then the ocean becomes not just a place of loss, but a guardian, holding these memories gently until we are ready to receive them again. The sunken cities may never return to air, but they don't need to. They live now in currents and coral, in sonar scans and deep-sea dreams. And with each dive, each new expedition, we draw a little closer to hearing them fully. Not with disbelief, not with haste, but with the reverent patience that all ancient memory deserves. Now let us sink into the quietest part of the sea, where even light no longer reaches and sound becomes a distant murmur. It is here, in the black, cold hush of the deep, that the past settles like silt. Each layer of sediment falls gently, decade by decade, creating a timeline of forgetting. But forgetting is not erasure. What has been submerged may rest unseen, but it is never gone. The ocean remembers in her own slow way. She holds the memories of cities that once breathed, of footsteps now erased by tide, of fires that once lit stone streets now buried beneath coral. The people who once lived on those lands would not have called their homes ancient. They would have known them as present, as now. Their markets would have bustled. Their children would have played beside the sea. They would have carved symbols into rock, worshipped the sun or the stars, charted the seasons and the tides. And then, slowly, or perhaps suddenly, the water came. Not a wall, but a rising, a creeping, an unrelenting approach. Maybe they stayed until the last rooftop vanished. Maybe they left. Or maybe they returned later, finding only silence where song once lived. The survivors, if there were any, may have carried the memory inland. They may have sung of the flood, told stories to their children of gods angry or asleep, of waves that rose like mountains. And over time those stories became myth, and myth became legend, and legend became forgotten, until one day, millennia later, a diver's flashlight catches the edge of a carved step, or a sonar ping outlines a shape too perfect for chance, and the memory stirs again. In those moments the sea itself seems to breathe, as if acknowledging that its long silence is about to break. The discovery of even a single carved stone beneath the water is not just an archaeological event, it is a reunion, with a version of ourselves we no longer remember. For every city lost to the sea holds a version of humanity that dreamed, that loved, that reached for something higher. To recover their memory is to recover a piece of our own, but there is a caution too. The sea does not give freely. Her secrets are slow to yield. Many ruins are too deep to reach. Some lie beneath shifting sands or have fused into the seabed. Others are mistaken for reefs, their straight edges disguised by centuries of marine life. Nature reclaims. The longer something lies forgotten, the more it becomes something else. Yet hidden within that transformation is truth, an invitation to look more closely, to ask more gently, to imagine more fully. We often think of civilization as linear, as progress ever upward. But the ocean teaches us humility. It reminds us that what is built can be unbuilt, that what is remembered can be lost. For every age of greatness, there may have been others, unwritten, unknown, and now submerged. Their knowledge may have been vast, their harmony with nature deep. Or they may have made the same mistakes we do, chasing more, building taller, forgetting the rhythms of the earth until the earth reminded them. And now their monuments rest in silence, watching from below as we make our own climb. If we listen, the ocean has more to tell. She holds not just lost cities, but lessons. In her currents, we feel the push and pull of time itself. In her depths, we see that nothing is truly permanent. Not kingdoms, not coastlines, not even memory, unless we choose to remember. The sea does not mourn what it has taken. It simply carries on, holding the bones of history like seashells beneath its waves, waiting for someone to reach down and lift one to their ear and hear not just the sound of the tide, but the voice of the past. It is not fiction to say that the ocean hides lost worlds. It is fact wrapped in wonder. And every year, more is found. A wall here, a road there, an artifact too old to explain. Together, these fragments form a mosaic not of myth, but of a past richer and deeper than we ever imagined. Perhaps one day we will see the full picture. Perhaps we never will. But the search alone is worth the effort. For in it, we rediscover awe. We rediscover respect. And we remember that we are not the beginning. We are a part of something ancient and ongoing. So let us approach the ocean not just with curiosity, but with reverence. Let us dive not just to see, but to listen. Beneath the waves, beyond the reach of light, the cities that once stood may never rise again. But they do not need to. In the gentle movement of water over stone, in the quiet arrangement of blocks and columns on the seabed, in the stories rising from silence, they are already speaking, and we, at last, are learning how to hear. High above the earth, where the sky folds into blackness and the stars begin their ancient glimmer, silence holds dominion. Not the quiet of a still room or a sleeping forest, but a silence deeper and older than anything we know. It is the silence of space, perfect, vast and watchful. We gaze upward, eyes full of questions, scanning the heavens for signs of life, of motion, of a voice reaching back. And yet, we are met with stillness. No shout, no whisper, just the endless thrum of radiation, the soft glow of stars that have already died. But what if the silence is not absence? What if it is memory? What if the sky has already spoken, and we have simply not learned how to hear? Science is careful, as it must be. But awe lives where certainty hesitates. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence assumes we are the first to listen with machines. But what if the sky was speaking long before we built radios? What if ancient civilizations, here or elsewhere, encoded their knowledge not in speech, but in pattern, in light, in structure? Perhaps the layout of a monument echoes the geometry of a constellation for a reason. Perhaps pyramids are more than tombs. They are receivers, amplifiers, signals cast back toward a sky that once spoke to them. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, aligns almost perfectly with true north, and its dimensions encode mathematical constants. Its inner chambers resonate with specific frequencies. Coincidence, perhaps, or perhaps design. Around the world, other structures echo this kind of sky-conscious architecture. Teotihuacan's layout mirrors planetary paths. Stonehenge tracks lunar cycles. Angkor Wat reflects the movement of Venus. These are not random, they are invitations to look up, to listen better, to remember. And if we are not the first to look to the sky, then the sky may already hold their memory. Signals decay, but not entirely. Light from distant stars is ancient by the time it reaches us. A message sent 1 million years ago may only now be arriving, tangled in the cosmic static. Or it may have come already, struck the Earth long ago and embedded itself in some quiet frequency, waiting to be noticed. Perhaps even now it hums beneath our feet or above our heads, filtered through the ionosphere, mistaken for natural background. Imagine, just for a moment, that the silence above is not silence at all, but a library, vast and invisible, a memory field encoded in magnetism, in photons, in timing. What if every star is a syllables? What if every supernova is a punctuation? And what if someone, long before us, once learned to read it all, then added their own voice, hoping someone someday would answer? We build telescopes now, ever larger, scanning deeper into space. We launch golden records into the dark with greetings in dozens of tongues. We hope, we wonder, but maybe long ago someone did the same, and maybe their signal arrived already and lies buried in ancient sites we have not yet opened, or rings gently in frequencies we've only begun to understand. Let's drift deeper into the quiet sky, into that velvet ocean above us, where light from stars long dead still travels across the dark, carrying ancient messages written not in words but in time. The silence of the sky is not truly silent. It vibrates with signals, some familiar, some faint, some not yet understood. As we refine our tools, we begin to hear whispers we once thought were noise. Cosmic background radiation hums across the sky like the breath of creation itself. Within that hum, hidden in its pulses and gaps, could be something more, something sent, not by accident, but by intent. Throughout history, humans have looked to the heavens with awe, wonder, and a feeling both small and significant. We name the stars, track their movement, and carve their patterns into our monuments. But what if we were not the first? What if another people older than memory also looked to the same stars and heard something we no longer can? Perhaps their technology did not leave machines or towers. Perhaps it left orientation, resonance, and structure, messages woven into stone and myth too deeply embedded in nature to distinguish as separate. Some researchers have noticed a strange pattern in ancient sites, their alignment not just with the sun or moon, but with celestial phenomena we only recently discovered. Angkor Wat aligns with the constellation Draco as it appeared over 10,000 years ago. The Nazca lines seem to point towards star positions not visible from the ground, but from high above. The megaliths of Nabta Playa in Egypt align with Sirius and Orion's belt. These patterns are too complex to be accidental. They suggest not just sky watching, but sky knowing, an intimate understanding of space, time, and signal. Consider the idea that the sky itself is a record, a memory of motion. The way galaxies twirl, stars orbit, and planets dance. They follow precise rhythms, mathematical and poetic. A civilization with sensitivity to these rhythms might interpret them the way we read music. Perhaps some frequencies in space are not just natural, but composed. Signals cast in harmony with the universe, to be received not just with ears, but with awareness. Even our own bodies resonate with frequencies. The Earth has a hum, Schumann resonances, low-frequency electromagnetic wave generated by lightning strikes that travel around the globe. Our brains respond to them. Ancient structures like the Hypogeum in Malta or the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid amplify specific frequencies in the 110 Hz range, which are known to affect the human mind. Were these acoustic chambers used to communicate not with gods but with the stars? To tune the body and brain to the signals from the sky? Was this the forgotten language of resonance? Astronomers now track thousands of exoplanets, some within zones where life could exist. We beam signals toward them, hoping someone will hear. But what if someone once did the same, not just across planets, but across time? What if the strange gaps in radiation data, the sudden pulses we dismiss as static, are echoes of a transmission not meant for this moment, but for any moment that could receive it? A cosmic time capsule still unopened. In Australia's ancient Aboriginal songs, constellations are woven into maps. The sky is a mirror of the land. These songs carry directions, seasonal oral wisdom, and memory, passed down orally for tens of thousands of years. But beyond navigation, some say these songs encode relationships, not only with animals and rivers, but with the stars themselves. The stars are not distant, they are kin. And perhaps, in this deeper view, lies a wisdom we've forgotten, an understanding that space is not empty, but filled with listening and memory and life of a kind we do not yet recognise. Even in modern data, strangeness lingers. The WOW signal, received in 1977, was a narrow-band radio burst from space, brief, powerful, unexplained. It lasted 72 seconds and came from no known source. It was never repeated. Some say it was interference. Others believe it may have been a message. If it was, we heard only a breath of it. Perhaps the rest still echoes beyond our range, waiting for us to expand our ears to hear further, deeper. In this context, perhaps myths of sky gods and star people are not fantasies, but translations, imperfect attempts to encode real skyborne contact into human language. In South America, legends tell of Viracocha, a white-bearded being who came from the sea and the stars, bringing knowledge before vanishing. In Africa, tales speak of Nomo, amphibious star beings. In India, the Vimanas flew between heaven and earth. Such stories are found not in one place, but everywhere. They may not be literal, but they may not be empty either. They may be humanity's fragmented memory of a time when the sky spoke and we, for a moment, understood. It's possible that the communication was not made with words, but with awareness, deep impressions left on consciousness, translated through symbol, myth, and art. The way dreams speak not directly but through image and rhythm. If the signal was never meant to be heard with machines, but felt with minds attuned to the quiet, then we may need not better technology, but better stillness. Today we fill the sky with our own signals, radio waves, satellite chatter, data bouncing off the ionosphere. The quiet sky is no longer quiet, yet in remote places, deep underground or far from transmission towers, we may still catch fragments. Strange vibrations, frequencies that should not be there, patterns not fully decoded, and maybe if we learn to listen, not just with instruments but with openness, we'll find that the silence is a song. A long, slow song meant for those who take time to hear. The stars are not just light, they are memory. Each one a message from the past, each pulse a whisper across eternity. And we, here on our small turning world, are part of that song, notes in the same sky-spanning melody. The silence is not empty, it is waiting, and slowly we are learning how to listen. Now let us come to rest beneath the stars, not seeking answers, but dwelling in the mystery that the silence offers. The sky is not a blank canvas, not a void, but a vast ancient archive. A memory not kept in words or pages, but in particles and pulses, in patterns too subtle to name. We have gazed upward for thousands of years, drawn by something we cannot explain. The stars have pulled at our imaginations, our myths, our science, and still they pull, still they call. But what if their silence is not refusal? What if it is invitation? Across the ages, humanity has built not just cities and tools, but dreams. Dreams carved into stone, painted on cave walls, woven into stories told by firelight. The earliest humans looked up and saw shapes in the stars. Hunters, serpents, sisters, gods. These were not just fantasies, they were a language, shared across continents and centuries. And perhaps they were inspired by something more. Perhaps long ago something else looked up to or looked down, and left behind a signal not to be heard immediately, but to be discovered only when the mind was ready. If a message is to survive time, it cannot be fragile. It must be encoded in what endures. Geometry, resonance, some have suggested that the universal language is math, not the equations of chalkboards, but the deep repeating structures found everywhere. The golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, the strange prevalence of hexagons in nature, from beehives to Saturn's pole. What if these are not just natural patterns? What if they are a signal, a kind of cosmic watermark placed by minds who understood that meaning, to last, must live inside the fabric of things? And what of time itself? We think of it as linear, but in the sky it loops and drifts. The light we see is old. The constellations change their shape over millennia. A message sent from across the galaxy could take tens of thousands of years to arrive, and yet still arrive. Perhaps some signals are already here, arriving now from a voice that spoke before our species walked. We might be catching them in our instruments, labeling them anomalies, static, background. But what if we listen differently, not just to what we expect, but to what we have overlooked? It is not only in the stars that silence speaks. On Earth, in places far from our cities and noise, there are locations that seem to hum. Some caves carry a natural frequency that calms the brain. Ancient temples built without mortar still resonate at precise tones. In deep meditation, some people report hearing not their thoughts, but something beneath them, a low sound, endless and kind. The yogis of India called it Om, the sound of the universe itself. Not a myth, perhaps, but a recognition of a frequency that binds all things. What if that sound is the signal, not created by us, but inherited? The search for extraterrestrial life often focuses on technology, on radio telescopes, deep space probes, scanning for emissions from intelligent civilizations. But what if the intelligence we seek is not technological in our sense? What if it is distributed, quiet, patient? A civilization that spoke not in machines, but in stars, not in voices, but in presence. What if they encoded their story into the arrangement of planets, into the pulse of neutron stars, into the spin of galaxies? Signals hidden in plain sight, waiting not for the loud but for the listening. The idea that we are alone is comforting to some. It places us at the centre. But the silence we hear is too vast to be empty. It is not an absence, but a veil. And as we peel it back piece by piece, we glimpse a greater narrative, one in which we are not the first nor the last, but a chapter. Perhaps we are latecomers to a cosmic dialogue already centuries in motion. Or perhaps we are the descendants of those who once spoke it, now relearning a language our ancestors knew by instinct. There are those who say the sky is watching, that it holds more than stars, that it holds memory, witness, intention. There are those who believe ancient structures on Earth align not only with constellations, but with times when certain stars were brightest, when certain energies touched the Earth most directly. Whether these beliefs are symbolic or real may not matter. What matters is that we continue to look, to wonder, to open ourselves to the possibility that we are part of something wider. And what would we say if we knew for certain that the sky was listening? Would we shout? Would we sing? Or would we simply sit in the quiet and let our thoughts drift upward like smoke from a fire, trusting that someone, somewhere, would feel it? Maybe that is what the ancients did. Maybe that is what their temples were for. Not worship, but conversation. Not noise, but signal. They built in stone so their thoughts could last, so they could keep speaking long after their voices fell silent. Now we continue their work, with satellites, yes, and with science, but also with story. Every time we wonder, every time we imagine, every time we build a telescope or carve a line into stone, we are joining a dialogue older than words. We are remembering, we are answering, we are learning to speak in sky. Let us listen not only with our machines, but with our hearts. Let us recognize the silence not as the end, but as the beginning of something vast, beautiful, and unfolding. Silence of the sky is not empty. It is full of memory, of signal, of waiting. And now, as we stand beneath the stars, it is our turn to respond.